The Yorkshire Coastcast with Paddy. Loving life in Yorkshire. The people, the places.
Hello and welcome to episode 51.
This is the coast.
Coming up, the cause of the huge, devastating Langdale Moor Fire has been announced. Plus, we're gearing up for the huge Yorkshire Hospitality Expo at Scarborough Spa. And we talked to Whitby and Scarborough's MP about a number of local issues. On top of that, you can adopt a phone box in Scarborough for just £1. A new nature reserve is planned for Scalby Beck. North Yorkshire is to front Yorkshire Day in 2029, and Building 1 on Scarborough's West Pier is sealed off. All coming up on the Yorkshire Coastcast. The podcast brought to you by the team at This Is The Coast, the local commercial radio station for the Yorkshire Coast, on DAB, digital radio across much of the region, online at thisisthecoast.co.uk, on smart speaker, get your Alexa to launch This Is The Coast, and download our free app as well from the App Store, and you can listen to us on your phone. We're also on Roku TV too. Just search for This Is The Coast. Now we'll start with the massive fire that raged across a big chunk of the North Yorkshire Moors National Park between Whitby and Scarborough in summer 2025. North Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Service has concluded a painstaking multi-agency investigation into the massive wildfire was caused by human activity. Investigators believe the fire, which eventually grew to 10 times the size of the Great Fire of London, was ignited by cooking equipment using a naked flame such as a campfire or gas burner. Fire Investigation Officer Adam Farrow detailed the exhaustive efforts required to pinpoint the cause of the blaze, which involved over 150 hours of on-site evidence gathering and witness testimony. He explained the findings that led his team to come to their conclusion.
This investigation was very complex. Over 150 hours worth of investigation was carried out on scene and conducting witness testimony and investigating through data and facts. In my opinion, the cause of the fire was either a campfire or gas burner used to prepare food and drink. We were able to find the hollowed area of some tree roots which has been used to dispose some items. There was numerous tin cans, peppers, onions, coffee sachets, bottles of water, chocolate bar wrappers and tea bags in this area. I'm convinced that the cause of fire must have been a campfire or implement to heat and warm up either food and or drink.
Now, the team investigating utilised a rigorous scientific method to ensure every possible ignition source was considered and tested against the evidence found at the scene.
We looked at several causes. The way that fire investigation is carried out is the scientific method. We look at as many potential hypotheses of cause of fire as possible, and then we seek evidence which either support or don't support that hypothesis, consistently testing our own hypothesis until we can come up with a supported cause of the fire. Typically, this will either be deliberate, accidental, or undeterminate if we're unable to find the cause.
Now, the fire occurred in an exceptionally remote and isolated area, making access for emergency responders and investigators extremely difficult. The site was located roughly 90 minutes walk from the nearest main road, requiring specialist vehicles to navigate the dense vegetation and hilly terrain. Here's Adam reflecting on the difficulty of reaching the origin of the fire.
We first were reported to a fire in June, on the 26th of June, and we remained in attendance at this fire until the 4th of July. At this point, we, through liaison with Forestry England, had put in several control measures, and from the 4th of July, this incident was handed over to Forestry England. This is part of nationally recognised procedure. It's completely within national operational guidance, and it's within our own procedures. From the 4th of July to the 11th of August, this incident was with Forestry England. On the 11th of August, which is part 3 of the fire, we responded to a separate 999 call back into the area of the original fire. And from this point, we noticed that the fire had breached its original confines and spread beyond that point, and we remained in attendance for some months.
Next, let's hear from Chief Fire Officer Jonathan Dyson, who emphasised that the fire's link to human behaviour is now a matter of public record, noting that the incident escalated as it threatened critical national infrastructure, namely RAF Fylingdales.
The fire effectively had 3 phases. The initial one now, which we are, and this is the first time I understand in the public domain, to formally link it into a fire starting into June. Ultimately, that fire is as a result of human behaviour. Now, Forestry England have an open access policy across the forestry areas and the moorland. What they do not allow is camping and the burning or barbecues in any of the other areas. So that was ultimately against the rules that we asked people to follow and the Forestry England asked people to follow. It became then, for us, a major incident when we saw the fire potentially spreading towards the critical national infrastructure.
Well, the wildfire had a huge impact on the Yorkshire coast, affecting landscapes between Whitby and Scarborough and drawing in resources from right across the region and beyond. The scale of the blaze was exacerbated by the historical use of the moor as a military training range, which led to approximately 20 cook-offs of unexploded ordnance during the fire. Local leaders have highlighted the emotional scars left on the community, and North Yorkshire Council has pledged continued support for residents and businesses in the affected areas. We've got several articles on this story at thisisthecoast.co.uk.
The Yorkshire Coastcast. Loving life in Yorkshire.
And you're listening to episode 51 of the Yorkshire Coastcast. And sometimes we're talking serious stuff like the Langdale Moor Fire. Sometimes it's a lot more light-hearted. And this coming Tuesday, the 3rd of March, it is the brilliant, huge Yorkshire Hospitality Expo at Scarborough Spa. And it is going to be enormous, possibly bigger than ever before. And it's free for people in business on the Yorkshire coast who work or want to work in hospitality or tourism to come along. Let's speak to Lynn Jackson, one of the organisers of this event. She's from the Scarborough Hospitality Association. Tell us more about this Tuesday's event, Lynn.
Well, we've got our annual hospitality exhibition down at the Spa, which is it's going to be massive this year.
Well, it's always massive, so is it going to be even bigger?
I think we've got 160 stalls all told this year. It's 160 stands.
That's amazing, isn't it? So
It is.
This is open to anyone who's in business or maybe looking to start up a business in hospitality, tourism, that sort of stuff. Tell us exactly who this is for.
This is for the business people of the area. It's not open to the public because it is very trade orientated, but it is very much if you want advice, you need an account. There's loads of people coming. There's food offerings. There's just all sorts. We've got till services, all sorts coming.
Looking back on previous years, local attractions are there. Like you say, you've got people that can give you legal advice, people that have products that you might want to sell or promote, or use in your place. It is fantastic, and obviously it's very well supported, not only in terms of the stalls that are there, but also the people that come in too, because this is such a huge area for hospitality, isn't it?
It is massive, yes. We're definitely saturated with hospitality businesses, that's for sure.
Why do you think it is so popular then with the people that have the stalls there? I mean, 160 is just remarkable.
I think it's that point where if you're a company, you'll have a representative that will go around and see individual businesses. But when they do an exhibition like this, all those businesses that they do business with can come in and see them. You can see a lot more people, and you can also interest a lot more people in what you're offering.
And I think people who come in as well, I mean, they'll go away with so many ideas on how to improve their hospitality business. So many contacts as well. What a great networking event it is for people in that industry too.
That's very true. We see many of the same smiling faces every year. It's lovely.
And I mean, the Grand Hall is just not big enough, is it really? Because it spreads out around the Spa, doesn't it?
It is. We're definitely out along the Sun Court this year, and there's I mean, you name it, we've got everything from beer and wine to ice cream, lovely Italian ice cream at that. So.
It's great. So just give us the details, the timings, and if people do want to come, do they need to pre-register? Can they just turn up? Just give us the information on that.
Well, all the details are on Eventbrite anyway, so you can register on that, which just helps us know what figures are coming. But you can certainly, by all means, come on the door. It's not a problem at all. Doors open at 10 a.m. and close at 4:30.
It's a lot of effort to put together, I imagine, as well. When does everything start happening? Because to get 160 lots of businesses in there, that must be quite an effort.
4th of March, the day after we finish.
That's when you start for the next year.
Oh, yeah. We'll already be numbers going, yes. And we'll be here next year. Whenever you're doing it, just give us the date and we'll be here next year. Not a problem, So literally it starts then. Yeah, it's just, it's people like coming. The exhibitors like to come. Like I say, it's a really nice event. People are very friendly. Well, we are by nature on the Yorkshire coast anyway, aren't we?
True.
But Yeah. But it's lovely.
Yeah. And interestingly, this morning, I mentioned on the radio that in a travel pursuit survey, UK staycations have narrowly overtaken holidays abroad as the ideal trip for 2026, which, of course, is good news.
It's brilliant news, that. Yeah, I hadn't seen that one. How marvellous.
Yeah,
we like that. Yeah.
And also, holidaymakers are checking to see if a destination is picturesque or Instagram worthy before booking, and that's the great thing about this area, because it really is Instagram friendly and picturesque.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, we're just waiting for the sunshine now. Hopefully we'll get some on Tuesday. I haven't looked at the long range forecast yet, but
it doesn't matter though, does it? Because like I say, a lot of the stuff's happening indoors. Yeah. And obviously, it has been difficult for hospitality businesses in recent years because of costs and just all the reasons that are well publicised. But there is a lot to be optimistic about, isn't there? Especially at this time of year as we're heading into spring and summer, and it does feel like it just feel quite optimistic. It does feel like we're in for a good one.
I think spring always makes us feel more positive, doesn't it? As soon as those snowdrops are out and the crocus are out and daffodils are coming out, it's lovely. It makes you happier, that's for sure.
Yeah, and plenty to celebrate locally. Plenty to celebrate locally as well, like the 400th anniversary of Scarborough as a seaside resort, and a lot of open air theatre concerts this season as well. So there's lots to celebrate, isn't there?
There is, yeah. Some cracking concerts at the Open Air Theatre this year, for sure.
Great. Right, well, we'll see you there on Tuesday. We wouldn't miss it for the world. The only thing for me is it usually falls in Lent when I've given up so many different foods and drinks, so it's frustrating for me. But
I know. I was talking to a chap from an Indian that I know yesterday, and he's like, "It's Ramadan." I went, "I'm so sorry." Bless you.
Yeah, exactly. You need to move it to a slightly different time of year, maybe next time.
Just for us. Well, Ramadan will be a different time of year next year anyway, so it's a shame it's not Eid, but there we go.
Indeed. All right. Thanks for your time. Cheers.
All right. Thanks, Paddy.
Lynn Jackson there from the Scarborough Hospitality Association. So that event is Tuesday, the 3rd of March, and we will be there as well from the get-go. We'll be doing some live radio bits, taking lots of pictures and videos as well, and getting them uploaded to the This Is The Coast social media pages. But honestly, if you work in business, hospitality, tourism, it's a must visit Scarborough Spa this Tuesday. The event is wonderful, and bring some carrier bags, because the amount of freebies that you'll be heading home with will be huge.
The Yorkshire Coastcast, loving life in Yorkshire. The people, the places. This is The Coast.
And this is episode 51 from This Is The Coast, the local commercial radio station for the Yorkshire Coast. I'm Paddy, and coming up we'll have a chat with Scarborough and Whitby's MP Alison Hume about a number of local issues, including the continued closure of Whitby's Cliff Lift. Firstly, North Yorkshire is going to host Yorkshire Day celebrations on the 1st of August 2029. The authority wants to shout about the county's businesses, scenic landscapes, unique heritage and stunning coastline. The council's chair says it's an opportunity to develop economic and cultural ambitions. George Jabbour explored the idea for North Yorkshire to lead for the first time last year.
On 1st of August last year, I attended the Yorkshire Day 2025 civic celebrations in Bradford. Afterwards, I discovered that the last time Yorkshire Day celebrations were hosted by a local authority in North Yorkshire was in 2019. I also believe that it has never been awarded to the council that represented the whole of our county. Therefore, I inquired about the process of hosting future Yorkshire Day celebrations. I am delighted to publicly announce today that North Yorkshire Council's proposal for hosting Yorkshire Day 2029 civic celebrations was successful.
Good news there. A 5-year project to create a new local nature reserve in Scarborough is underway. The Scalby Ness Local Nature Reserve project will involve local community groups to enhance the habitat and biodiversity of Scalby Beck, Centenary Wood and Scalby Ness in Scarborough. Work at the site, which is next to a Yorkshire Water Treatment Centre, will include practical conservation work and training with volunteers, biological data recording with local groups, community events with residents of Scarborough, and education days with local youth groups and students from the local sixth form college. The Council's Parks Service recently secured about £31,000 of external funding to work in partnership with Yorkshire Water on the proposal, according to a recently published report. Well, what I think would be really beneficial is if they could sort out the sewage that is pumped into Scalby Beck rather frequently. And a building is being closed and tenants moved out after potential structural issues were discovered. Building number 1 on the West Pier in Scarborough is part of a major regeneration project led by North Yorkshire Council. Structural engineers visited the building on Thursday, the 27th of February, and after a visual inspection, expressed concern over part of its exterior, including its gable ends. Building number 1 includes 8 units, which are used as offices and studios. 2 are currently vacant and 1 is home to North Yorkshire Council's beach superintendent. It also houses, I think, the biggest toilet block in Scarborough as well. And we know what a sensitive issue toilets in Scarborough is at the moment. And Scarborough residents could adopt a phone box and give it a new lease of life for just £1. A BT phone box set to be removed in the town could be saved if locals decide to adopt it. It's a payphone on Northway near the Scarborough Telephone Exchange. Set to be removed by BT, and the company has opened a consultation on its future. The phone box has been identified as the last public call box at a site, and North Yorkshire Council and the community now have the opportunity to support or object to the removal, according to Scarborough Town Council. However, the consultation process also gives local communities the opportunity to adopt a phone box for another use before the payphone is removed. This applies to both the traditional red phone box as well as the modern phone boxes as well. More on those stories at thisisthecoast.co.uk.
The Yorkshire Coastcast. Loving life in Yorkshire.
And this is episode 51 of the Yorkshire Coastcast podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts from, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and always at thisisthecoast.co.uk/podcasts, and also on the This Is The Coast app as well. Next, let's have another catch-up with Scarborough and Whitby's MP, Alison Hume, about a number of local issues making the news at the moment. Alison, firstly, how are you after the recent hip operation? How's the recovery process going?
Going well, thank you. I'm delighted to be able to share with you, Paddy. I'm down to 1 crutch now, so I think that's improvement.
It is indeed. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And hopefully you're really going to start to feel the benefits of the operation soon. So, obviously, you have been laid up, recovering from an operation recently, but the work goes on, of course, and a big week this week, actually, with the SEND document being released. That's a huge thing for you personally, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So the SEND white paper and the start of the government's consultation on SEND has started this week. I'm frustrated I'm not in Westminster, but actually it's given me time to be able to start reading the huge amount of paperwork and sort of think about how I feel about the whole thing. And as you've mentioned, as a SEND parent who survived the SEND jungle with my son, this is incredibly personal for me. And also my inbox has been jammed with hundreds of emails from constituents, from families who are currently being failed. So it's personal and professional. And I have to say that my initial reaction to the white paper is positive. I think to say to listeners, I really understand what it feels like to be a parent fighting for what your kid needs and being failed. The adversarial situation where you just feel like you're in a battleground the whole time, trying to get your child an education is just horrendous. And it's happening not just in Scarborough and Whitby, but across the country. I mean, it's colleagues I've spoken to are in the same position as I am here. So we can't just pin it on North Yorkshire Council. It's happening up and down the country. And I think that this is a reset moment. It's a very ambitious pathway for us to go down, and it will need schools, the staff that work in them, parents, families, carers and professionals such as speech and language therapists and educational psychologists to all feed into the consultation, which is running for 12 weeks now, because this is what the government have set out. But if you ask me honestly, I think it'll need tweaking. There'll be things that we perhaps haven't seen that need looking at. But what's really important is the government have listened. It's been delayed because they were listening, and the engagement from the Secretary of State and the ministers has been really good. I've done a recent survey. About 300 people got in touch with me, families and staff, and I fed that back into government, and so have a lot of MPs. And I think, it's the start of a journey, Paddy. It's not the complete solution, but it's going to be a break from the nightmare. And we are, over the next 10 years, moving to a system which will deliver locally, deliver faster, and be accountable, because the lack of accountability has been one of the main issues for parents.
Yeah, and I think I heard Keir Starmer at PMQs recently saying that it's pretty much the topic that he gets, hassled about most from his MPs. Yeah. Is that true? Is that fair to say that? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Every PMQs, as it gets raised, I've raised it myself. This is a big issue for the government, and I think if we get this right and we start rebuilding our SEND system, this could be our version of Sure Start, because so many people who are desperate will be helped, and that just would be transformative, because we've got to have better ambition for our children, and not just our children with SEND, not just children who have an EHCP. That's only about 5% of children, but for other children who are being failed, the white working class, many of which I represent in Scarborough and Whitby, particularly boys. The school's white paper looks at ambition for all of our children. But, the children I'm most worried about, Paddy, are the ones that my survey identified and which I knew anecdotally to be true. And those are the in-betweeners, the children who are too complex maybe for mainstream settings at the moment, but they're unable to meet the strict criteria for special schools. They find themselves following part-time timetables, or they're not in school at all. And that is really upsetting for them and their families. And I think the children will really benefit from the money that we're putting into targeted mainstream provisions to allow children with additional needs to learn alongside their peers when they are able to do so. This isn't a case of forcing children into school. It's about meeting children's needs.
And talking about, SEND children, just sort of on a similar topic, seeing your big long list of things that you have been working on recently, one of those that you are working on is an accessible playground for Scarborough. So how's that going and what's that looking like?
Oh, well, that's very early. Yes, of course, you've been reading my list. Thank you, Paddy.
I have, yes, your shopping list.
Yeah, so just talking to a group of parents in Scarborough who've identified that there is not an accessible playground in the town, and we're talking about an accessible swing, accessible roundabout that children with disabilities can use. And I was quite shocked when I realised that that wasn't the case. So very early doors with that one, but something that is so important. We all know, any of us who've had children with disabilities, that we want to take our children to a park and use playground equipment, and it's really difficult to find those playgrounds. And also, we know a cafe that's accessible and toilets that are accessible. The fact that Scarborough doesn't have it is a big miss, and I'm going to be working with those parents to try and make that a reality.
Yes, and also, of course, once a playground is put in place, it's about maintaining it as well, isn't it? Because too often they just end up a few months later, in a worse state than they were before. It's one of the key things, isn't it? Maintenance.
Maintenance is important, security is important, and obviously the local authority will have to be involved at some stage. But, it's not a case of just going to North Yorkshire Council and saying, we want this. And we'll be looking at best practice, which other towns are doing it well. And also, is there an opportunity to get a changing places toilet in? Because, that's another thing that people write to me about is the lack of toilets in Scarborough and Whitby, and particularly changing places toilets.
Where are we at the moment? This is also on your list with the Whitby cliff lift, because obviously, we've had protesters opposing the decision to close it. I know you'd like to see it saved, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really feeling more determined than ever to push North Yorkshire Council to appoint or use somebody they already have, a senior officer who will take an interest in the coast, because I think that there have been several examples which show that the people in North Allerton are really not in tune with Scarborough and Whitby. And I think that the cliff lift is one of these things. It's beloved. I've used it. many, many times with my family going down to the beach. It's been closed for a while. Why was it allowed to just disintegrate to the point where they now want to knock it down? This is part of our heritage, and we're going to really try and fight for it. I've been supporting the local councillor, Phil Trumper, and with his petition. You know, Anglo-American or Anglo-Tech as they are now, they've been in and they've had a look. The water ingress is not as bad as North Yorkshire Council have made out. Ultimately, it's an opportunity for North Yorkshire Council to invest in Whitby, invest in the town, and really keep something that's not only heritage, but important for accessibility. Without that lift, there's have to get a bus down to the beach, and the bus that had been put on wasn't working. So I feel really strongly about this. The more I look into what's been knocked down in Scarborough and Whitby over recent years, the more I'm sort of like feel stubborn and think I don't want anything else to be knocked down.
Yeah. You mentioned Anglo-American there, actually. There's been some news there, a major investment boost for the Woodsmith mine project. There's been problems in recent years there, so this is obviously great news, isn't it?
Yes, I'm very pleased about Anglo-Tech and the Woodsmith mine. Some investment coming in from Mitsubishi. It means that there's going to be no further slowdown, and it looks like things will be ramping up. I actually had a call with them the other day, and they're feeling really positive. Obviously, this is a massive deal for our area. We've got a lot of local people employed, and if it goes ahead, even more. The Woodsmith Foundation has been very generous, supporting lots of local charities. So everybody wants it to succeed. And of course, my role as the MP is to support this, bring it to the notice of government, which I was so really pleased to see that Peter Kyle, the business secretary, had put in a quote of supporting Woodsmith. So yeah, it's very good news indeed.
Yeah, and talking of good news, I was delighted to see the signs going up at the end of Huntress Row in Scarborough. Isn't it great that is finally been sorted out, the precinct there? You've been talking a lot about Pride in Place recently, and that could be transformative for Huntress Row. And I don't know whether it's a coincidence, but there's been a few businesses there that have been doing some paint work and all that. But maybe they realise that the street is going to look a lot better soon, and they need to sort of tidy it up a bit. But it's one of those streets that was such a big part of Scarborough, and it's really fallen into a bit of a state in recent years. Hopefully the resurfacing will give it a bit of a lift.
Absolutely. I'm really pleased about that. And I can tell you that last year, after I walked down Huntress Row, I took pictures of I think 7 or 8 shops that were closed up and felt really depressed. So I've been working with North Yorkshire Council to get them to move on those works. And they're called Public Realm Works, and they were scheduled for this quarter. So I'm absolutely celebrating that work's underway. And of course, as you've said, with the Pride in Place, one of the projects that we're looking at is sprucing up Scarborough. If that gets funding, then people will see a real difference. I think Scarborough is a wonderful town, and it really does need a bit of love, and that love is coming, especially when we've got the revamped station across the road from my office, and I'm looking at that being unveiled soon. I can't wait.
I was at the United Scarborough Residents Action Group meeting recently, just sort of having a nosy and listening in and all that, and that was brought up. Just obviously the great work that's been done there, but also the station gateway. What will ultimately come of that? Because it is important, isn't it? Where bizarrely, I remember when I took my daughter to the Harry Potter world, we got off the train station at Watford. I'd never been to Watford before, but I can still remember it now. Not really expecting much of Watford, but as soon as I came out of the train station, massive letters that said Watford, and really nice area. And I thought, this is actually not a bad place. First impressions are really important, aren't they? Not just for visitors, but just that pride in a key part of the local transport network.
I'm so excited about the revamp at Scarborough Station, because I think when you see how sensitively the roof has been renovated, and you've had a peek, I think you've probably seen the photos I have of the clock tower. it's going to be sensational. And when you get off a train and see all of that, that's really going to sort of like, yeah, I've arrived in Scarborough. Then you step out and hopefully, you know, there'll be some works around the front which will improve the access. You're looking at the Stephen Joseph Theatre, which is a fantastic Art Deco building, and the lovely mural. And when the sun's shining, what better gateway to Scarborough than that?
Yes, and obviously we've heard recently there's a number, you know, Scarborough has a high percentage of empty shops, and obviously we've had the tiles business move out as well, so that is a bit of an eyesore to the left of the entrance when you come out of the station. Hopefully that'll all be suited, but that's the battle, isn't it? You know, you make improvements here and there, but you also want shops and businesses in those premises, because otherwise that can sort of be a backward step, can't it?
Yes, but you know what? I know the tiles shop is sadly closed, but if you just go around the corner to the old parcels office, we have this amazing art space. I don't know if you visited, but you really should. And just behind that really long bench on the platform, they have fantastic work in there. So yes, while there's things that are closing, there are also new and exciting things opening up, like the old parcels office. And of course we have a fantastic art and cultural scene in Scarborough, which I'm talking about a lot as we prepare our bid for the town of culture. So yes, we do want the shops filled. I noted that North Yorkshire Council say that they're working on ways of getting the temporary use of those shops. A lot of that could be done with the meanwhile use, but you know, council has to be flexible and let people move in while they're looking for long-term tenants, and sometimes I don't think we've seen that, and in fact I know we haven't. So it's a really good way of using spaces while people are waiting to rent them out long term.
Yep. You mentioned the town of culture there, so this is an exciting time, isn't it? Because there's going to be a real focus on whichever town is named the first town of culture. You said you're going to be involved in the bid. Are we still having bids for Scarborough and Whitby? Is there more of a focus on Scarborough? I don't know. You can tell me more.
Well, as obviously as the proud MP for Scarborough and Whitby, I'll be backing both towns. Unfortunately, Scarborough will be going in for the medium town, and Whitby, I believe, going in for the small town. Now, Scarborough's a bit further ahead in the process, so I've had more to do with that. But I know they're looking at a bid in Whitby, and I'm very excited about both. The competition is a real opportunity for towns which have been overlooked to tell their story, to tell their unique story. And goodness only knows, both Scarborough and Whitby have got fantastic stories to tell. You know, Scarborough with its being the first English resort, we've got Star Car, we've got the Stephen Joseph, the birthplace of theatre in the round, the new Scarborough Fair reimagined, we've got the fossils, we've got goodness knows what we've got, and the spa, of course. And then in Whitby, of course, we've got the whole birth of Dracula, the Whitby Abbey, the Captain Cook, and the music festivals that go on there. So, you know, we really are spoilt for choice, but the challenge will be telling a story, what's unique about the towns, and why people should come to visit them as the town of culture. But, you know, it's £3 million for the winning town, and then all of that comes with it. So very, very nice opportunity.
Yeah. You can imagine banners on every lamppost, can't you? You know, showing off the fact that it's the town of culture, whichever one it is, and all that. So hopefully one of our local towns will get that. Just a couple more things, then we'll, you know, obviously if there's anything else you want to mention on your list as well, delays to house building at Middle Deepdale. That's something that you're working on as well at the moment.
Yeah, I can't say too much about that, Paddy, but I've just identified a bit of a problem with North Yorkshire Council, which has meant that house building is on hold in that area. It's not something that I have any details on, but it's on my list. You know, a lot of these meetings I have are just sort of me exploring things, but that's been brought to my attention. Of course, building more homes, building more affordable homes is the number one priority for this government. So if there are any local blocks, it's my job to make sure they're unblocked so that we can build the houses for local people to live in.
Yeah, and something else actually. There's a TV program which they think might have a similar effect that the Mr. Bates versus the Post Office had, and this is the I think it's the Channel 4 program about the water waste. So this is something that could really get people talking. Obviously, it is a big issue, isn't it, here on the Yorkshire coast as well. So that is, I think, a debate that is definitely going to spring up more, isn't it?
Yeah, well, as a screenwriter, that was my job before I was lucky enough to be voted in as an MP. I am going to be watching that drama. I really like those kind of dramas based on real stories, and there's a real appetite for those now. And as you say, Mr. Bates versus the Post Office was a game changer. I think we already know the issues about water pollution and human excrement in the seas and rivers causing illness. And that's why, as a government, as soon as we got in, we introduced a bill and we started cracking down on the storm overflows. Yorkshire Water have been brought to book. They've been fined. They can't take bonuses, and they are putting a big investment into our area. I think we've got the Scarborough Water Summit coming up in the next month, and I think we'll be hearing more details. But I would be, very, very remiss. It'd be remiss of me to say that it's not something that I'm not spending a lot of time on. I am. It's just when I've got hundreds and hundreds of emails coming in, it's a case of balancing what the most important thing is at any one time. But water pollution does remain a big issue for me. Yeah.
And anything else you want to mention this week, Alison?
Only to say that listeners will be aware in the Eastfield area that I've been working very closely with the Eastfield Medical Centre, their insurers and the ICB about the reopening of Eastfield Medical Centre. And I believe it's okay to say that I'm hopeful that it'll open at the end of March, the end of next month. So moving out of the temporary facilities and back into the building. And that will be great news for the 9,500 patients.
Great to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time again. Do you have a date in mind when you'll be properly back in your office?
I'm sort of properly back working from home at the moment, but I'll be back in Westminster middle of March.
Yeah, all right. Thanks so much for your time. We'll chat again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Paddy.
And that was an in-depth chat again with Scarborough Whitby's MP Alison Hume on the Yorkshire Coastcast, episode 51.
The Yorkshire Coastcast, loving life in Yorkshire. The people, the places. This is the coast.
And this is Paddy, and have you heard about Whitby Restaurant Week 2026? You can experience delightful dining without breaking the bank during Whitby Restaurant Week, which is on from Monday the 2nd of March to Sunday the 8th of March. Restaurants, cafes and pubs right across Whitby are offering set price dining for just £10, £15, £20 or £30. It's a brilliant opportunity to try somewhere new or revisit an old Whitby favourite with friends and family. Whatever you fancy eating, classic fish and chips, a sweet treat, a hearty breakfast or traditional pub meal, you'll find lots to tuck into during Whitby Restaurant Week. It is on, like I say, 2nd to the 8th of March, so you really do need to get a move on if you want to take advantage of these offers, which come on a first come, first served basis. What do you need to do in this great initiative in association with Visit North Yorkshire? You need to click thisisthecoast.co.uk and then features. Features at thisisthecoast.co.uk or features in the menu on the This Is The Coast app. Now, we're always going on air about our amazing voucher deals, so let me do a little bit of that on the podcast as well, because we've got some brilliant new half-price vouchers that have gone on sale, but these are only valid for the next few days. This is for Russells Circus, which is rolling into Driffield. It's been voted Britain's best circus 5 years in succession. And we've got half-price family tickets for Wednesday the 4th of March, Thursday the 5th of March, Friday the 6th of March, or Saturday the 7th of March. Should be £55 down to just £27.50. And what you get for that is a wonderful 2-hour show in the evening of your choice. we've got a video which looks absolutely awesome. It's on our vouchers page. So just click vouchers at thisisthecoast.co.uk or vouchers in the menu on the This Is The Coast app and grab those whilst you still can. It's a wonderful deal and it really is a truly mesmerising circus. And finally, before we wrap things up on episode 51 of the podcast this week, a reminder that now we're into March, this will be happening very, very soon. And we'd love you to get involved.
The Wilf Ward Bunny Bounce. We'll bring the ears, you bring the bounce.
Yeah, this is a fun new way for local youngsters to help support individuals with learning disabilities and autism to live extraordinary lives. The Wilf Ward Bunny Bounce is a fun, school-friendly fundraising challenge inviting local primary schools and nurseries to get involved this month. Schools or nurseries help raise vital funds to support people with learning disabilities whilst also supporting a local charity, Wilf Ward, that has been making a difference across the region for nearly 40 years. So if you are from a school or nursery, you can sign up right now. Thanks to those who have already, including Hummonby Primary School, Jitterbugs Nursery, Thomas Hindwell Academy as well. Here's the best bit, right? If you say that you've got 250 kids that are going to be taking part, we will deliver 250 sets of bunny ears. And there's all sorts of different things that you can do, actually, as well. If you're thinking, well, what could we do? What is this bunny bounce? Well, it's entirely what you want it to be. But a few ideas for you. You could do a hopathon. How many times can you bounce in a minute? Also, maybe lay out a course using school sports equipment in the school hall. Hop around the course. Maybe do a bunny boot camp, organise a high-energy workout where children follow a fun exercise routine or a bunny run. That includes jumping, ducking and maybe grabbing a carrot. Maybe a sack race and relay games. Maybe a bunny disco at lunchtime. It's entirely up to you. But just please do sign up if you are from a local primary school or nursery. It'll be a lot of fun. And it's great just to highlight the amazing work that the Wilf Ward Trust, the Wilf Ward Family Trust do, enabling extraordinary lives in Yorkshire. So click features at thisisthecoast.co.uk. Features at thisisthecoast.co.uk or features in the menu on the This Is The Coast app.
The Yorkshire Coastcast. The people, the places.
Well, thank you so much for listening to a bumper episode of the Yorkshire Coastcast. Episode 51. We'll be back on episode 52. Thanks for listening.
The Yorkshire Coastcast.
Loving